All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Yes, guys, welcome back. In today's video, guys, I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler, I guess you could say review or thoughts over Predator Badlands. I just got out of the theater not too long. I was probably about 45 minutes ago. I just got out of the theater and I'm here putting this video out to talk about the film. Before I get into it, guys, you know how I do it. I got to give a score. Now, if you're new to the channel, scoring system is 0 to 5, 0 being trash and 5 being a masterpiece. And so for this movie, Predators Badlands, man, this was a difficult one for me to kind of score. So I gave this one, guys, I gave this one a 2.5. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. So got the score out of the way. So let's talk about it. So I think one of the big questions people want to know is, how does this stack up against Predator 87? I mean, is this on that level? I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on a film. And so here's the thing. So when I went to go see this, I saw it on a matinee today. There was probably I would say about 30 to 40 people in there. Most of them are around my age or a little older. So I'm in my 40s. So around that age, people who grew up watching Predator. There were a few maybe in their late 20s that were in there as well. And so after movies like this end, I like to kind of just congregate and listen to what people are saying, maybe even spark up a conversation. But this time I kind of just listened to what people were saying. And I could tell you right now, if you're going into the movie, if you're going into this film, searching for that feeling of 1987, Ernie's, Predator, you're going to be disappointed. You are going to be very disappointed. And that's the sentiment I got from the people that came out of theater. I heard this ain't my Predator. They did this. This was BS. What's with all the comedy? Things of that sort. So but for me, I came in with a whole different mindset. Like my mindset was, I'm gonna go into this very optimistic, or I guess you could say expectations tempered. Like I'm gonna go into this hoping, can I just get a good movie? Can I just get a good movie? That's what I want. Can I get a good movie? Because we've been disappointed so thus far for most of 2025. We really haven't been getting a lot of good films as far as having a good theater experience. There's been a handful. And so my whole thing was like, can I get a decent movie? And so with that mindset, which I mean, a lot of people say, damn, that's pretty damn low to go into the movies thinking that. But hey, I think this is the world we're living in for these days, because it's definitely a crapshoot when you go in there. So I think this movie met my expectations, because there's no way in hell I was gonna even question whether or not this movie was going to be on the level of 87, because Predator 1987 is one of the greatest action movies of all time. So me personally, I wasn't disappointed in this. I looked at it as this was a watchable movie. I paid $45, ticket and a few concessions. Did I leave there going, damn, I wasted it? No. So for me, I think it was a win, because that's usually kind of, one of the factors I throw in is, when I walk out of the theater, do I feel this was a waste of fucking money? And if I walk out of there not feeling that, I think that's a win. And I think that could be true for most people. So right off the bat, I hope that answers some of your questions about this film. But just to go a little bit more in depth, like some of the things I liked about it, I'll tell you right away. The first 15 minutes, the introduction to our main character, Deck, I thought it was tight. I liked it. It established his character, his struggles, and his purpose. Like what is driving him? What is going to be his why? And he's established as an underdog, because he's like the run of the litter. And who doesn't like an underdog story? Which, like I said, that's a very, very smart move by the director, because that elicits a response from the crowd, an underdog. We all like the underdog. We all like David versus Goliath. So right away, kudos to the director. And like I said, this whole film, what he's trying to do here is very ambitious. It's very ambitious. And unfortunately for this movie, a lot of that ambition, he trips himself up, and some of it is like, hey, I like what you're doing here. I like what you're doing here. I like to see more. But, some of it, it's hit or miss. A lot of it is miss. One of the things they do is they humanize the predator. He's humanized. I mean, like I said, some people are going to look at that as a negative. Like, I don't want my predator mourning, you know, having these kind of human emotions. I want my predator to be, a systematic killer that's out there hunting and kicking ass. Not to say Dak doesn't do that, but like I said, there's let's just say, there's a grieving and emotions, human emotions. So yeah, he's humanized. I would say they humanize him in that. And so, but as the movie carries on, like I said, it's for me, like I said, because of my expectations, I wasn't too disappointed, but I will say, like, the pacing, this is a tight movie. I would actually say one of the negatives is the pacing might be too a little too fast, because I just mentioned about how our character is emotional. There's emotional moments that happen in this movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's emotional moments that happen. Well, because the goddamn pace is so fast, you don't have time to breathe and take in the stakes of what's next. Like, it's like, boom, this happened, bam, boom, boom, bam. When you need it, excuse me, when you needed time to breathe when the boom happened, instead of going all the way to the bam, 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 and so I think that's one of the things the movie suffers from is, the pacing is way too, like, there were moments where they needed to stop, breathe, slow it down a little bit. So I would say that's one of the knocks on the film. Like I said, you saw a lot of that in the second and third act. We got those, those were some of the issues. And like I said, I don't want to hang on the negative too much, so I'm gonna pop back on some of the positive. And one of the positives I would say is Ellie Fanning, who played two different characters, played two synthetic characters. And I would say, if it wasn't for her, I mean, like I said, she kind of carried this movie. I would say she carried this. This was a Predator movie, but Ellie Fanning's playing the android, or synthetic, as they call them, synthetic. She played Thea, which was the one we see in the trailer that's with Dak most of the movies, that's missing, missing the bottom part of her body there. And then she also plays the character of Tessa, who is the other synthetic. I would say the corporate synthetic. She's Wayland Utani through and through. Whereas, Thea, she gives into her emotions, and we learn in the film that Wayland Utani, because there are no humans, and I think that also possibly hurts the film as well. There are no humans in there. The people who you see in the trailer as humans are synthetics, and so there's not a whole lot of emotion there, except those two characters. They've given them emotion, but the other synthetics are basically a blank sheet of paper. They don't have any emotions. They just follow orders, and oftentimes they're cannon fodder throughout the movie. But Ellie Fanning playing those two characters, and then she has the ability, like, it takes some really good acting, and to be the ability to have the nuance to play both these two characters. And then at the same time, like, there's a part in the movie where she does a turn, where her character turns. I mean, like I said, great job. I would say she's a great fit and a great part of that movie. She's definitely in the line of some of the great actors that we've had play synthetics or droids. Michael Fassbender, the late great Ian Holmes. Like, she did a great job, so salute to her. Also, Lance Hendrickson. Don't want to forget about him. Well, I mean, he's Predator, or he's Alien, but and Ian Holmes or whatever. And but they're all connected. It's all connected. It's all connected. But you get what I'm saying. Like the Wailing you talk, there, it's all connected. I would say also the chemistry between her and Deck, or the actor, I believe his name is Demetrius, or it's either Demetrius or Dimitri, but Demetrius Schuster. They their characters have good chemistry. Matter of fact, I've seen a reviewer say that they would be all right if they had some kind of relationship.
What? What the fuck?
You know, trying to, I don't know. I mean, people always trying to ship people together, but I think they had great chemistry together. Um, yeah, and I would say for me also, like I talked about that first 15 minutes, I would say there's a stinger towards the end of at the end of the movie, which brought me back around where I was like, ooh, okay, they're establishing a little bit more of the world. Like there's some other stuff going on, and then they pull us away. So great job by him, because like at the beginning, they had my curiosity. At the end, they got my attention. So they're definitely setting this up for franchises, because if you look at OG Predator, and then you think Predator 2, they could all be standalone movies. Like you wouldn't need to see Predator 1 necessarily. You could walk in and see Predator 2, and you could stay with it. You could follow it. Like you wouldn't need to see Predator 1. I mean, it'd be good for you to see it, but you get what I'm saying is, but the way they're setting this up, it's definitely going to be franchise. And I will say this, I have to give respect to Dan Trachtenberg, the director. I think what he's doing here, I think if they allow him to keep doing what he's doing, I think he could set up a great Alien versus Predator, a true Alien versus Predator, like a good movie. I mean, I think he could. I think he could if they keep this guy on and let him kind of run the show, or be, I think he could. I think he could set up a good Alien versus Predator film for the people, because I think that's what we want. I mean, Alien versus Predator, the first one, yeah, it's all right, serviceable. Could have been better, but serviceable. And Requiem, I mean, that's some that's I've heard some people praise it, but I think it's shit, and that's just me. That's just me. That's just how I feel about it. But, who's to say? I'm just a guy on the internet. I mean, but yeah. So some of the complaints, to back to the guys I heard outside the theater, some of the complaints, they complained about the comedy. And then I tried to go in this movie completely blind, but I did see some people saying this movie was Disney-fied. And I'll say I totally agree. It was. I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it at that. But let's just say they introduce a character. It reminded me, if they were to mix, what's that ugly little alien off of Lilo and Stitch? Yeah, I should know what it is. My kids watch it all the time. But that little creature, if you mixed him with Gollum and sprinkled some baby Grogu on him, you got this. Because this little thing, I'm telling you, they tried to get the cuteness factor. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about a Predator movie, and I'm talking cuteness. They're trying to put this little alien in there. So that is a whole thing. But all in all, this movie, I think it delves in several different things. For one, it asks the question, or it presents a question for you watching it is, I mean, you have the family you're born in, or your chosen family. What are we? Who do you? For some people, your chosen family actually is more of a family than the one you're born with, because oftentimes, just because someone's family doesn't mean you're familiar. You just happen to be related. But yeah, I'm just trying, I'm just trying to, because like I said, this is kind of fresh out of the theater, but I I would just, like I said, I can't stress this enough. You have to temper those emotions, or not emotions, but temper those expectations. If you go in there, or you, this better be as good as, you're going to be disappointed. But I would also say, go in with an open mind. Also, go in with the open mind. I think a lot of those guys that complained, that I heard outside, they already had their mind made up. They didn't go in with a open mind. They went right away. The first time they saw something they didn't like or didn't add up to the Predator they knew, they were done. They were done. They didn't give it a chance. And like for me, I tried to go into it and I felt I went into it with an open mind. And I understood, hey, the director's doing some things his own way. And yeah, did they turn the lore on its head? And they pushed a lot of the lore of the Predator out the door for the sake of what the world they're setting up. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, but yeah, guys, my biggest thing I'll tell you, go in with an open mind and don't expect this to be the number one spot as far as Predator. Because I mean, Predator is one of the greatest action movies ever made. And so yeah, guys. That's all I got. Like I said, non-spoiler. Y'all need to go. I'm suggest. Look, it's a watchable movie. It's a watchable movie. If you go in with an open mind, it's watchable. You know, I spent shit, damn near $50 just on myself. That was one ticket and a couple of concession items. And a lot of the way I kind of gauge a movie is when it's over, and the first thing I think to myself is, man, I just wasted all this fucking money on this movie. That thought never crossed my mind. So yeah. So with that being said, everybody, guys, like I always say, if it's for 1 minute, 5 minutes of the whole damn video, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to view my content. If you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that subscribe, smash the like, get in the comments. Do you plan on going to see Predator Badlands? Did you already see it? And if you already seen it, tell me what you thought about it. Are you kind of on my page where you went into it with an open mind and expectations weren't super high? Or did you go into it and you were really disappointed? Either way, I'd like to hear from you. So with that being said, everybody, it's your boy P sign off, and guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.